Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today is November 8th, 2020, and we're going to start the Arabic class. And our subject today is about the harakat for the nouns. Okay, we talked before that there are subjects. There's a subject, there's a verb, there's a subject, there is an object. And for all of these, we have different harakat. So we have three classification, okay, for nouns. The first one is Marfo3. The second one is Mansob. The third one is Majror. So we have Marfo3, Mansob, Majror, okay? Depending on the noun, the sign or the mark or the haraka at the end is going to reflect that, okay? So for singular or irregular plurals, and we always say that irregular plural is to be treated like singular, okay? So we have two conditions here. We have when the sarf is allowed, then it is dhamma for marfu', fatha for mansub, kasra for majrur, okay? If the sarf is forbidden, then kasra is not allowed. So it becomes dhamma, fatha, fatha, okay? Because kasra is not allowed if the sarf is forbidden, okay? If we have a dual noun, then, and the gender is both, this is for male or female, and this is also for male or female, for both. The sarf, if the sarf is not allowed, if actually the sarf does not apply, the question of sarf here does not apply for dual. So there is marfu' is with alif, mansub with ya, majrur with ya. Okay? Now, if it's a regular plural male, then it's marfu' waw, mansub ya, majrur ya. If it's a female, then marfu' is dhamma, majrur is kasra, mansub is kasra, majrur is kasra. And there's a note down here that fatha is not allowed for regular female plural. That's why you find dhamma, kasra, kasra. Okay? Now, that's the first rule we want to learn today, which is rule 290. Now, rule 295, there is a noun qualifying or specifying another noun. We call this construction in Arabic mudaf and mudaf ilayh. You guys can see the document here, right? Okay. So in English, the form is x of y, or y is x, where x and y are the two nouns. Like Muhammad's car, Saeed's game, video game. You know, the two nouns, the video is qualifying the game, that it's a video game. Okay, so there, in Arabic, this is called mudaf, mudaf ilayh. Mudaf is the game, and mudaf ilayh is the video, in the case of a video game. Okay, mudaf and mudaf ilayh. Okay, so the first one is mudaf. Okay, and the second one is mudaf ilayh. Okay, okay, so what are the rules? What are the rules? The mudaf is the noun being described, and the mudaf ilayh specifies the mudaf, i.e. qualifies or describes the mudaf. Described looks like there is a error here. Okay, the noun being described is the mudaf, and the mudaf ilayh specifies the mudaf or qualifies or describes the mudaf. Okay, the mudaf is not specific. It's made specific by mudaf ilayh. For example, the word books is a generic noun, but when we say books of Muhammad or Muhammad's books, then we are specifying that these books belong to Muhammad. So Muhammad is qualifying the books. There are so many books, but Muhammad is, but we're talking about the books of Muhammad himself, okay? The first noun, which is al-mudaf, okay, cannot have tanween or alif lam, okay? But it can have kasra. Mudaf ilayh must be majrur. Majrur means this case here. This is majrur. Okay? So must be majrur. Depending on the kind, we will do the grammatical form. Okay. Okay. Now, the majrur, and it can also have tanween. If the mudaf is dual or regular male plural, then the noon at the end is taken out. Now let's look at the examples. The book of the boy, or the boy's books, or the boy's book. The book of the boy or the boy's book. In English, we say it both ways, right? In Arabic, we just say it one way. Say kitabu, the book, al-walad is the boy, okay? So this one, we notice this one cannot have, just like we said here, cannot have, which is the mudaf, okay, which is the mudaf ilayh, cannot have tanween or alif lam, okay? So, and the default case is marfu'. We always say the default case is marfu'. That's the default case. So we say kitabu, and it's marfu', so it has dhamma. And then al-waladi. The mudaf ilayh, okay, the mudaf has to be majrur. The mudaf ilayh has to be majrur. The mudaf ilayh has to be majrur. Okay? So, al-walad becomes al-waladi. There are three possibilities. Al-waladu, al-walada, al-waladi. So, the marfu' is al-waladu because it's dhamma. The mansub is al-walada because it's fatha. The majrur is al-waladi because it's kasra. But here, this one here is majrur. The mudaf is majrur. Okay, the mudaf is majrur. That's why we say kitabu al-waladi. Now, we want to make it the generic form. The generic form, the generic form is for the book, we say it's a book of a boy. The book of a boy. These are the books of a guy, a random boy. We don't know, not the boy, it's a boy. Or a boy's book. We say it in English is two different ways. Now, how do we say it in Arabic? We say kitabu waladin. Kitabu, the dhamma, because it's the default case. Waladin. Now, you ask me, how come here I have tanween, but here I don't have tanween? How come here I have tanween, but here I don't have tanween? The rule says that if you have alif lam, then you cannot have tanween, period. Okay? That's a universal rule. If there's no alif lam, if there is alif lam, we can't have tanween. Okay? For all kinds of words in Arabic, nouns in Arabic. If we have alif lam, we can't have tanween. Okay, so you notice this kitabu here is marfu' and the mark is dhamma. The mark for marfu' is dhamma. Okay, and here the mark for marfu' is dhamma, no changes, because it's the default case. It's the default case. Okay. Okay, if we say the car of Muhammad or Muhammad's car, then the first noun is the mudaf and the second noun is the mudaf ilayh. So we're qualifying this sayyara that it belongs to Muhammad. Okay, so we say sayyaratu Muhammad, the car of Muhammad, or the car of Muhammad. We're qualifying this sayyara because it belongs to Muhammad. So Muhammad is qualifying the sayyara. So it's not any sayyara means car. It's not any car. It's Muhammad's car. Again, there is no alif lam. There is no alif lam, and its sarf is not for and sarf is allowed. There is no alif lam and sarf is allowed. Then you can have tanween. And this one, dhamma, which is marfu', is the default case. Okay, now, the watch of a girl or a girl's watch, okay? Okay, the default is marfu', and this one is majrur. So the mark for majrur is kasra. Okay, if you add alif lam, then again, this default is marfu'. Default means it's not always marfu'. There are cases where it's not marfu'. And then al-binti, it has kasra. Okay? Okay. Now, sometimes the mudaf ilayh noun is removed. If we will go watch soccer player, where the player is one M, which is one male, then we say la'ibul kurati. The la'ib is player, kura is ball or soccer. Okay, so la'ib al-kura. The first one is mudaf, and the second one is mudaf ilayh. This is mudaf and this is mudaf ilayh. Mudaf ilayh is always majrur. Mudaf ilayh is always majrur, no exceptions. It's always majrur, no exceptions. Okay? Here, if you want to make it one female, then, and instead of la'ib, we add ta'anith, it becomes la'ibatu. And then the mudaf ilayh, or the second noun, okay, the second noun is majrur, always majrur, okay? Because al-kura is a singular male, or I'm sorry, a singular female, because it ends with ta'anith, then we go to singular female, and the sarf is allowed. So then the mark for the majrur is kasra. The mark for majrur is kasra. Okay? Okay. Now, if we're talking about one female, the la'ibu becomes la'ibatu. Okay? We add ta'anith. Now, if we want to make a double, the soccer player, 2M, 2 male, okay? We're supposed to say la'ibani al-kurati. We're supposed to say this. That's what we're supposed to say. Okay, let me actually uncross them. Looks better. Looks better without being crossed. And they are going to be turning into black. Okay, so two must end, double must end with alif noon or ya noon. But because it's the default marfu', then it's marfu' for dual. We go up here, says for dual, marfu' is alif. Mansob and majrur are ya. So here, this is marfu' because it's the default. It's the default, so it's marfu'. Okay? Marfu'. Here, whether it's a male or female is always marfu', the default case. Now, mudaf ilayh is majrur. Majrur. So, again, mudaf ilayh must be majrur. So, we go here, it's a dual noun. It's a dual noun or singular? Single female. The player here, the player here is soccer player, two males. Okay? But for the mudaf ilayh or the second noun, this is called, sometimes I call this adding two nouns together. So combining two nouns together, one qualifies the other. Okay, so لاعبان الكرة, الكرة is majrur. So majrur for dual female, for just single female, because kura, ball, in Arabic, it's a female word. There's no male word, male ball or female. There's no male soccer or female soccer. Or there's no male kura and female kura. It's just one, which is kura. It's an object that has a female word that happens to be a female noun. So that's here, kura. Kura here is one F, one female noun, single female noun. So, and sarf is allowed? Yes, sarf is allowed. There is nothing, we can take it and go through the table and we will determine at the end that sarf is allowed. Okay? So, majrur here in this case is ya. I'm sorry, that's female. Female allowed, majrur is kasra. Majrur is kasra. So we go here and we see that majrur is kasra. So that's why it's kasra here. Okay. The Arabic language has a way of making the pronunciation of words easy. So to make it easy, we take away the noon. We take away the noon. We take away the noon. So we remove the noon. So it becomes instead of لاعبان الكرة, it becomes لاعبا الكرة. What happened to the noon is taken away. Why? Because that's the rule that Arabic likes. That Arabic makes pronunciation of the word easier. Okay? Makes it easier by removing the noon. Okay? Okay. So, if the player is one male, then it's لاعبو. If the player is one female, it's لاعبتو. If the player is two male, then it's لاعباني, but we want to make the pronunciation easier, so it becomes لاعبة. So instead of saying لاعبان الكرة, we say لاعب الكرة. Okay. And instead of saying لاعبتان, if it's two female, instead of saying لاعبتان الكرة, we say لاعبتا الكرة. Okay. Same thing as if the players three plural male, then we say لاعبون الكرة. لاعبون الكرة. Okay. And then we take away the noon, it becomes لاعبو الكرة. So we only take the noon in the cases of two male, two female, and 3 plus male. These are the only 3 cases where we take away the noon. Okay? Now let's jump to the homework and see how can we do this. And let's jump to homework. I think it should be homework number 7, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it's number 7. And to make sure, yeah, it's number 7. Okay. Now, we're going to practice this on words. Okay, so let's start from the beginning here. That's the homework. The form is either Marfo3, Mansob, or Majror. Okay, and this is a noun. So you want to see the different harakat for the noun. Okay, here a belt doesn't have alif lam. Hizam, which is a belt. If you want to make it definite, I'd say al-hizam, the belt, which is right here. Okay, so al-hizam, the belt, hizam, a belt. Okay, just like English. This one is any belt. This one is the specific belt that I'm talking about. Both of them are 1M. Both of them are 1M. One male. There is no male belt or female belt. No. It's just it's Arabic word that happens to be the noun house, maybe a female noun. Okay? Okay. So it's a male word. So now, how do we make it majrur? We go to, the rules are specified. 280, 285, 290. These are the rules that we would be looking at. So, okay. Not enough room. That's fine. We can switch back and forth. You can switch back and forth. Fine. Okay. Okay. So we want to decide what is the haraka here. We want to decide what's the haraka here. How do we decide? It's a belt, which is a male word, and it is singular because it's one belt, and it's a noun, and it's male. So we go back to rule. We go back to the rule of 290. Okay, it says that it's a singular male. Okay, male or female, it doesn't matter. It's the same. And sarf is allowed. Why sarf is allowed? Because hizam, if I go to the rules of sarf, if I go to the rule of sarf and walk through it, hizam doesn't end with ta marbuta, and it's not a female. Hizam does not end with alif noon. Hizam doesn't have alif lam, alif hamza. Hizam, this is for irregular plurals here. So حزام is not an irregular, it's not a plural at all, whether it's regular or not. It's not plural at all. Okay? It's not plural. It does not sound like أفعل, يفعل. Okay? It is not transformed from a verb. From verb فاعل to verb فعل. فعل. From فاعل to فعل. Like عامر, عمر, زاحل, زحل, هابل, هبل. It's not one of those. And it's not a foreign name. It's not name at all. And it's not compound. It's just one word. That's not composite. That's not compound, because here we do like it's not like خضرة موت, بعلى بك. It's not like that. Therefore, صرف is allowed. Okay. All right. So ضمة for مرفوع, فتحة is for مجرور, كسرة, I'm sorry, فتحة is for منصوب, كسرة for مجرور. So we go back here and we've determined that this is going to be ضمة, this is going to be فتحة, this is going to be كسرة. So we know that. ضمة, فتحة, كسرة. And let me stick with this one for now, and then I'm going to tell you the difference. This one, it's ضمة because it's مرفوع. مرفوع is ضمة. The تشكيل for مرفوع is ضمة. تشكيل for منصوب is فتحة. تشكيل for مجرور, it is كسرة. So ضمة, فتحة, كسرة. Now, we have a question. We say صرف is allowed. Okay. But there is a rule that supersedes this rule, which is that, yes, صرف is allowed, but we have a rule that nouns with the starts with alif lam cannot have tanween. Just cannot have tanween. And that is rule will always stay with you. There is no alif, there is alif lam, no tanween right away. So, okay, so I go back to the homework here. Okay, so there is no tanween, so it's just a single dhamma, a single fatha, a single kasra. But if it doesn't have alif lam and sarf is allowed, then I do tanween dhamma. Tanween dhamma. And tanween kasra. And here there is a rule we covered before, that there is a rule that says that the rule says that if the tanween is fatha, we add an alif. If the tanween is fatha, we add an alif. And we see this right here in the rules. Okay. Tanween, we say tanween, if you have tanween fatha, it takes an alif. You don't put the tanween on the top of the you don't put the tanween on the top of the just like you have to put the tanween on fatab and alif. Unless it's ta marbuta, then you don't do tanween for ta marbuta. Or if it's hamza, we don't do tanween. So we say ma'an, or we say ma'an. Okay. Ta marbuta cannot have tanween on it. Okay. Tanween fatha. Muhammad, then, okay, that has to have an alif, and alif over the tanween. Instead of tanween on the dal, tanween on the alif. So this is just the customs of the Arabic language. So knowing that, we know that we have to add a alif to have the fatha. We have to add the alif to have the fatha. Please turn on your videos, please. Okay? Okay? All right. Now, we learned about this for a single male. Okay? Now, let's see here. If we talk about dual, we said for dual, which are two cars now, two cars. The cars, and there's no male car or female car. It's just a male word. I'm sorry, a female word. Car is a female word in Arabic. سيارة, سيارة, because it ends with التأنيث. Okay, so that's 2F, case of 2F. Okay, let's go see what case of 2F. Okay, صرف is not checked for dual nouns. And we know that. It's not questionable. It doesn't apply. Okay, so when we go see two female, we go to this table here. We see that two female, we find two female, two both, which male and female. Marfo3 is alif. Mansob is ya. Majror is ya. So we go back to our homework. We say, okay, Marfo3 is alif. Marfo3 is alif. Okay. Will not be allowed. Let's see. Neither this is allowed, but Marfo3 is alif. Here is alif. Marfo3 is alif. Okay? But here, Mansob is ya. Mansob is ya. And Majrur is ya. So, alif, ya, ya. Marfo3 is alif. Mansob is ya. Majrur is ya. Okay? So it's going to be السيارتان, السيارتين, السيارتين. So the majrur, mansub and majrur are both the same. Okay? Okay. Let's go and take the case of 3 plus female. Cars. If I have more than 3 cars or more, and it has an alif lam here, so we know alif lam, no tanween. No question. Alif lam, no tanween. Okay? So, okay. So now, what is the rule for 3F, 3 plus F? 3 plus F, we go here, and we say that regular female plurals is marfu' damma, mansub, kasra, majrur, kasra. And just to emphasize that say fatha is not allowed for regular female plurals means there is no fatha, damma, kasra, kasra. Okay? So knowing it's damma, kasra, kasra, we go back to the homework. Okay, we also check sarf. So when you check sarf, you see sarf is allowed. Okay? Okay. Sarf is allowed. So, however, because we have alif lam, we cannot have tanween. So, okay, so this is damma, kasra, kasra. Right? You understand? Okay. Okay. So I'm trying to highlight this. I don't know why it's not being highlighted. So stubborn. Yeah. Trying to highlight the alif. It's not letting me highlight them. And the ya. No, we don't want the ya. We just want the ya. Highlight the ya. Don't want them together. Okay. Deal with this later. So this is ya, ya. Okay. Okay. All right. Now, mows is irregular plural. And because to show that it's plural, I put 3 plus male. 3 plus male means 3 or more, plural. But this doesn't look like ending with waw, noon, ya, noon, or alif, ta. Because if it is regular male plural, it should end with waw, noon. But this one does not end with waw, noon. Does not end with waw, noon. Okay, so it is irregular plural. To be treated like singular, exactly like singular. Singular here. As long as the sarf is allowed. And for this case, if we go through the table, we'll find that sarf is allowed. Okay, so it is a regular plural, which is dealt with like as if it is in a single noun, just like single noun. مرفوع ضمة, منصوب فتحة, مجرور كسرة, مجرور فتحة. Am I looking at the right one? Yes, looking at the right one. فتحة. No, I'm not looking at the right one, guys. Should have corrected me. We said صرف is allowed. So it's ضمة for مرفوع, فتحة for منصوب, كسرة for مجرور. Knowing this information, go back to my homework and I would say, okay, just copy those, copy those, copy those. And then, okay, مرفوع is ضمة. So I click here, convert this into Arabic keyboard, and say, okay, for this one is ضمة, موزو. موزو, okay, ضمة. So for this one, it is كسرة. I'm sorry, مجرور, مرفوع is ضمة, مجرور, منصوب is فتحة. So this one will go like this, the فتحة. Come on now. فتحة. And then I go down here, it says مجرور is كسرة. Then I put كسرة on the bottom. Okay? Now the question is, can we have tanween? Yes. Why? Because sarf is allowed and there is no alif lam. Therefore, instead of mawzu, I'm going to make it mawzun. And instead of mawza, I'm going to make it, add the alif, and then tanween fatha. Oh, what happened to the alif? Tanween fatha. Why? Because tanween fatha has to be on an alif, just like we explained. This one, because for the same reason, is going to be tanween kasra. Mawzun, mawzan, mawzin. Okay? Okay. Now, let's try what happens if it's the bananas, not banana. Okay? Not bananas, it's the bananas. Then we'd add alif noon. We'd add alif lam. Okay? This takes here alif lam. Okay? Okay. And the meme is fatha. What happened? Yeah, it has already the fatha. So, and instead of mawzun, it becomes mawzu. Al-mawzu. Al-mawzu. Okay? And then instead of تنوين فتحة, then we say الموزة. And here, okay, was going to be الموزي. So الموزو, الموزة, الموزي. الموزو ضمة, الموزة فتحة, الموزي كسرة. If you don't have alif lam, then it's موزن, موزن, موزن. Okay? Let's do Egypt, for example. Egypt. You notice here that I'm not putting in the question here, I'm not putting a haraka at the end. Why? Because you are the one who's going to determine the haraka. Okay? Here, when you have a country, then usually we don't have alif lam. However, let's see if sarf is forbidden or not, is allowed or not allowed. So we go back to book of rules. Okay, okay. We say, in order for us, it's a singular noun. In order for us to determine which row to consider, whether to consider this or this, we go back to the rules of sarf. Okay, rule 280. A female doesn't fall under this. Doesn't fall under this, but it falls under what? It falls under the foreign names. Falls Misr, Egypt is a foreign name in Arabic. So because it's a foreign name, we go back there. So we know that sarf is not allowed. Okay. So we can't have sarf. Sarf is forbidden. So then we take this word here, here, and here. Okay. And then because sarf is forbidden, then according to the rules, according to rule 290, okay, sarf is forbidden. Okay, so we look here. So marfu' is dhamma, Mansob is fatha, Majror is fatha. So we go back there. We say, okay, because sarf is not allowed, I cannot have tanween. Okay, so this becomes Misru. Why not Misrun? And it doesn't have alif lam. If it has alif lam, then I would say, yeah, because of the alif lam, we cannot have tanween. But this one, because sarf is forbidden, we cannot have tanween. Okay, so, and then Mansob is fatha, and Majrur is kasra. Did I make a mistake? I think I made a mistake. Majrur is fatha, because sarf is not allowed. Okay? Now, Saliha can work both ways. Either sarf is allowed or sarf is not allowed. Depends. If it's a name of a girl, then sarf is not allowed. But if it's just a noun, just describing a girl to be righteous, this one means righteous. Okay, so if it's an adjective describing someone to be righteous, okay, then the sarf is allowed. But if it's a name of a girl, then sarf is not allowed. Okay, so Saliha is righteous. And it is 1F. Superscript. Okay? Okay. Okay, so let's assume it is a name of a girl. So we can add here a note or something to say it's a name of a girl. name. Okay. And to make it even more clear, let's make this one, this other one here, a noun. Noun or adjective. Let's call it adjective better. Okay. So if the classification is depends on the context of the speech. So you're calling Saliha. Okay. So Saliha, Salihatu, Salihatu, like this. And if it's a name, sarf is forbidden. Therefore, I cannot have tanween. So I cannot have tanween. But so if I go back to the rules book of rules, book of rules, I see that singular female is dhamma. If the sarf is allowed, is dhamma, fatha, kasra. But this one, because it's the name of a girl, it's not allowed, then it's dhamma, fatha, fatha. Dhamma, fatha, fatha. So I go back to the book here, okay, and they say sarf is not allowed, therefore this is going to be 2 dhammas, hold on, oh, that's a name, no, that's just dhamma, and fatha, and fatha. So if it's a name, it's dhamma, fatha, fatha, because sarf is forbidden. But if it's not a name, if it's just an adjective or noun, okay, then this one, now sarf is allowed. So to go, if we go back to the book of rules, we see here sarf is allowed because it's a noun, not a name. So it's dhamma, fatha, kasra. Marfo3, dhamma, Mansob, fatha, Majror, kasra. So we go back there to the homework. Go back to the curve. This one is going to be tanween dhamma. Tanween dhamma. This one is going to be tanween fatha. Now, why not alif? Why don't I do this? Because we have an exception. Because the word ta marbuta has to be the last letter in a word. Cannot be anywhere else. So for this particular situation, we don't put an alif. So salihatan, and here salihatin. Okay, salihatin. Okay, so you notice here dhamma, fatha, fatha. You notice here tanween dhamma, tanween fatha, tanween kasra. Okay, and similarly, if we pick, oh yeah, that's a good example. Salwa, it ends with ya maqsura, alif maqsura. And we know that ya maqsura, salwa, is always going to be the same, no change. Salwa, salwa, salwa. Why? Because that's an ya maqsura or alif maqsura. Okay, now when you have this, then it's going to be the same. Doesn't matter, no changes at all. as we can see here, if we go back to the book of rules, مقصورة is, where is it? Irregular female plural, maybe. Type of hamza, type of lam. Nouns are divided by single nouns. You guys remember and seeing it? Okay. Anyway, the nouns ending with alif maqsura are called al-ism al-maqsur. Like mustashfa, Musa, Salma, Hubla, Marda, doesn't change. It doesn't matter what's Marfo3, Mansob, Majror, it's always the same. So that's a good thing. So we go back to our homework, okay? We know it is going to always be the same. Same thing applies if we have another ya alif maqsura. There's no other alif maqsura here. Or there is. No, there's no. Okay? So that's the only example of alif maqsura here. Hawa. Hawa means the name of our grandma, which is Eve. In Arabic, it's Hawa. The reason it's called Hawa, because it came from a living being. It came from Hay, which is a living being. So she is Hawa. Now, the English and the English traditions or Christian traditions, they used to think that female women are evil. So they call it Eve, short for evil. Okay, that's something that you will learn later, that the Bible looks down to consider the Hawa to be a villain because she seduced Adam into eating from the forbidden tree. But that's not in our tradition. Our tradition, Adam was the one who's responsible of the mistake, and he led astray his wife. And in Islam, women are not evil. Women are our daughters, our sisters, our mothers, and our grandmothers. Okay, so they are not evil, and they are not Eve. Okay, it's Hawa. Just remember that. Okay, Hawa, I can tell just without any. Hawa is a female name. Then it's sarf is forbidden. Sarf is not allowed. The female name, sarf is not allowed. So because of that, we say sarf is not allowed. So because sarf is not allowed, here we say Hawa'u, Hawa'a, Hawa'a. And Hawa'a. Dhamma, Fatha, Fatha. Just like what it says here. Just like what it says here. It says, when sarf is forbidden, Dhamma, Fatha, Fatha. Okay? Any questions? Okay. All right. See you guys in a few minutes. Assalamu alaikum.